The following episode contains sensitive topic information that may not be appropriate for young listeners, as well as religious or other views that may not reflect those of the Sirens team.
Hey y'all, we promised you we would go live. This is Sirens of the Supernatural. We are here at the Nickerson Snead House. It is a haunted bed and breakfast, and we are going to be here all night bringing you some live videos throughout the night, and we want to show you how old this place is.
We are here at the Nickerson Snead House. This is our first walkthrough. Very beautiful inside.
Hello, Sirens fans. Hey, Lindsay. Hey, Ryan. We are back, and this is our final episode of season 2. We're going out with a bang. As promised, we are back with a recap of our night at the Nickerson Snead House in Glade Spring, Virginia. And boy, was it a night. We've got Southern Research Society, SRS Paranormal, back with us, 2 members of their team tonight to kind of help us recap as well. And so let's go ahead and bring them in. We've got Rhonda Caudle and Tori Starnes with us tonight. Hi, Rhonda.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi,
guys.
Tori.
Hey.
I know for our listeners and followers, you may have seen and heard Rhonda on with us before when we had SRS on back after Ryan connected with them at Smoky Mountain Terror. So we found out at that time that Rhonda actually owns the Nickerson Snead House, and they were having a public event in July, and we said, oh, we've got to go to that. So we got signed up and got a room, and we went for the evening's events and had a great time with them. And so, Rhonda, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself again for our listeners that may not have seen you the first time, and then we'll let Tori introduce herself.
Okay. I'm Rhonda Caudle, and of course, I own the Nickerson Snead House in Glade Spring, Virginia. It's a haunted B&B, and we do all kinds of events up there. I am a psychic medium, a Reiki master, author, publisher, you name it, and I've tried it. So that's pretty much it, in a nutshell.
Okay. And how long have you been part of the team, the SRS team?
Since 2019.
Okay. All right. I couldn't remember that off the top of my head. Okay. Thank you. And Tori, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Tori. I joined the team in 2020. Started going to Publix, kind of what you guys went to on Saturday, and working on my mediumship skills. Kind of got into the paranormal field by watching Ghost Hunters. Think kind of told you guys that the other day, and so it just kind of developed in what it is now. And so we as a team it's been an exciting adventure.
Awesome. And is your dad also, he's part of the team too?
Yeah. So my dad and my sister both. My dad that's how we kind of got on the team, is my dad worked with the fire department with Matt, our founder. So that kind of led us into, oh my gosh, he has a team. Let's go. This is going to be really cool. Right. And let me just tell you, it's not like Hollywood. I will tell you that. There are times we sit in the dark and talk to nothing. But yeah, that's kind of how we got started. Came to see Matt and the rest of the team at one of the Publix. They invited us out to Hell's Bar Dam and Old South Pittsburgh Hospital in Chattanooga, and just fell in love with it and been investigating ever since.
Cool. That's really neat. Now, you mentioned Publix. Tell us a little bit about, do you all do the same thing at every public event that you did with us? Is it kind of the same layout through the night?
So the Publix at our other historical sites are quite a bit different. Being as the Snead is our home haunt, we can do things like seances and stuff that we can't normally do when we're out in the other Publix. The others usually, we had a very small, more intimate group with this at the Snead, whereas the other Publix, there's 20 to 25 people, and we split them up. And so they get to see a lot of the historical buildings that are there. the two local historians that are on our team as well, Wes and Matt, they will actually go and kind of tell the history of the places. And we do more of the rods, the EVPs, the spirit boxes, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Now, Lindsay and Ron, I know for our listeners, we started out the evening with kind of talking with the team, getting to know the team, and there were other people there for the public event as well. So they told us, some of what they do and kind of their approach. And then we got to do our very first seance. Or I think it was y'all's first. Was it, Ryan? Was it a first for you as well?
Yes.
Okay. And Rhonda and Tori were both in there with us during the seance. And I didn't know really what to expect. And I was just kind of not skeptical, but kind of apprehensive a little bit, But when it was over, I was not feeling that way at all. Because Lindsay and I both kind of got messages as Rhonda especially was sensing things, different spiritual energy, and she would, put it out there and say, does anyone think, is it this for you? Maybe coming across for you, a message for you. And I knew right away when you said the older lady grandmotherly type, that was my message, and it was pretty specific. I was surprised, honestly, and I was emotional too. I wasn't expecting that. I got teary eyed and all up in the feels because I believe it was a message from my grandmother, and I really, that was special to me. And I know that you had message that, well, for Lindsay, because she was sitting like right beside of you, Rhonda. And so, Lindsay, I want, y'all talk about that and tell me a little bit about how you felt.
Well, first, I think it's funny that Memo Deal came through, because I was thinking to myself, I was like, I feel like if anybody from our family would come through, it would be her, because she's so sassy. Like, she always had something to say. And I was like, I felt like that's who it might be, because I was like, she's the only one that would come up in here. But then before that, I think, Rhonda, it was so funny because you said that you sensed something on your right side and I was sitting to your left. And like right before you even said that, it felt like there was somebody standing right there, like in between us. And so after she said that, I was like, yeah, I feel that too. Like, I didn't want to say anything because I was like, I don't know if that's real, But then whoever you sensed, I mean, you can talk about that a little bit, because I still, like, I've been racking my brain. I have no idea who it could even be.
I thought it was interesting that you said people can pick up hitchhikers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it may be someone that you picked up along the way. It could have been someone with me. It could have been someone with the house that was just curious.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been someone there with someone else and they were just happened to meander our way. It was just curious about what was going on. But when we do a seance, we hardly ever get anything with the house anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually with people that come. And something more like a gallery reading than a seance, because most everyone gets a message from a loved one, and it's really hard. It's when we ask everyone if they recognized the description or phrase or a nickname or something of someone, or even how they passed. If this resonated with them, please let us know quickly, because when these spirits come to us, they come quick and fast, and they're very loud and very just animate about being recognized. And if their loved one doesn't acknowledge their presence, it's really hard for us to get past that person so that someone else can come in, that's with the group that wants to give a message to their loved one. So we cannot stress enough how important it is that even if you don't want to talk to that person, don't want a message from them, you just have to acknowledge that, yes, that's my person. And then they'll usually just, they'll usually step aside and let someone else come in. But, and honestly, I don't remember the messages.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I remember, because it's not for us to remember. It's not for us to hold on to.
Yeah.
I have clients come back and they'll say, "You remember you told me blah blah blah." I'm like, "No, I'm sorry, I don't remember. I don't remember. Once it's over for me. I
Yeah.
don't retain any memories of any of it because it's not mine to remember."
And also, I'm sure you have a ton of different readings and messages that you give to people. There's no way that you could just remember all of them from the top of your head.
No, this pea brain has shriveled up to almost. I am lucky to remember to get out of bed and get breakfast in the morning. But I surely cannot remember messages from years ago. So, but it's meant just to come through me and to whoever it's meant for. It's not meant to stay with me or Tori or Matt or anybody
Yeah.
that's doing the readings. And the public investigations that I don't get to do many of them with at the historical sites. I only get to do a couple a year, but Tori does a lot of them. Her and Matt, but it kind of works the same way. We don't do seances, but we get messages on dowsing rods and even spirit boxes for people. But Tori has more experience with that because I don't do a lot of that. Just because I don't get to go to many of those because they're over an hour away from me. So I only get to do a couple a year. But
Yeah, so along the same lines, I mean, you know, we do seances there at the Snead, but the public's when we first started them, I mean, for me 4 years ago, it was a lot of the historical figures that, you know, lived there, were slaved there, whatever the case may be. We could talk to them a lot. Anymore now, it's the people that come with the guests that come in. We end up with messages 24/7 with them versus actually the people that, you know, lived there historically. So that's been a really big change in our publics because, you know, kind of like what Rhonda said, most of the time we don't remember them. I can remember bits and pieces. Like she said, people come up and like, do you remember that? And I'm like, maybe a little bit of it, you know, but I think that's the biggest part of the publics now is we get to close those messages and close those doors for people. And they come through to us in the rods. They'll answer on the spirit boxes. We get like images in our head or just thoughts of like, we know that that's what's happening right now. So that's, yeah, it works a lot of the same way, but it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. Because like she said, if you don't acknowledge it, they will knock at your door until you answer it, until they finally are like, okay, they heard me now. I can move on, you know, I can find somebody else to talk to.
Well, that segues into something that I wanted to ask both of you was when you've opened yourself up, you know, to hear a message, to receive a message, does it come to both of you the same way? Is it like, okay, first you sense the energy, then you see the person or hear the person? Does it come differently to both of you?
It comes differently to everyone. To me, I sense someone and then I'll get a feeling or a knowing. Sometimes I'll get an image. And sometimes I'll hear whispers in my ears. It's just different. It's different each time for me, depending on the person coming through, and it's different for for each individual medium or empath or Tori's more empathic, but she's opening up more to receiving mediumship messages now. Her and Matt both, but they started out, especially Tori, very empathic.
Yeah.
I've tried to tell her you could be empathic, but don't
turn it off.
let them have too much, because I did the same thing years ago. It would just be overwhelming, and I would just burst out in tears, or I would be so fearful of whatever they were, and it's really hard to let them do that because it takes a lot of energy. So Tori's working on trying to control how much she lets them have access to. So but I'll let you talk about that, Tori.
Yeah. So as Rhonda said, I'm more empathic than like Matt, and Rhonda's learned to turn it off a little bit better than I have. But I feel more emotions come on first, you know, kind of the fear if it's something that's just really uncomfortable to me, or if it's someone who's just really upset, it will make me an emotional roller coaster. I'll just burst out into tears because that's the emotion that they're trying to share with me. But mine is now starting to come through where I can feel like just the difference in temperature. I can feel them kind of walk through. Mine come almost like little flashcards, or they'll put a thought in my head that I will 100% can bet money that that's the truth, that I know that that's what's happening. And it's not my thoughts, you know, it's not something that I have come up with or even can imagine. It just kind of blurts in my head, just like a little flashcard. And I'm like, okay, that wasn't me. Someone else gave me that idea, you know? And then when people can acknowledge that, and like, yeah, and I've, we went to Scarefest up in Kentucky a couple of years ago, and that's probably been one that has stuck with me the most. Is we were talking with a lady who lost her son, and Matt had asked me, he's like, "What do you see?" I said, "All I can see is the Superman image over and over and over again, that logo." And she said, "That's funny that you mentioned that." She's like, "That's his favorite superhero." And like, we had like a celebration of life before he passed, and that was the shirt he wore. And she pulled a picture out of her bag, and it was him in a Superman t-shirt. I about lost it. I was like, there's no way I could have known that. I'd never met this lady in my life. I'm 4 hours away from home. And it's those things that gives you that validation that you're not crazy, But yeah, that's the best part, I think. But it's like she said, I'm still learning. I have a long way to go. Rhonda's been doing this a long time, and I'm just getting started. So
I like how your team, the mediums on the team, work together. One of you might sense one thing, from a spirit, and another validates it with something else that they're picking up from that. Ryan, what did you think about our seance experience?
I thought it was really interesting. I liked it. I could pick up on a little bit of energy and stuff. I was paying attention to what was being said. One of the things I had a question for Rhonda about is like, you say you see images and you feel energy. Do you like, as far as when you see something, is it something like in your mind and you feel the energy to a certain degree, like to your right side, or do you actually see a physical, like a real person standing there and you sense its energy at the same time?
I have actually, and it doesn't happen very often, but if an energy is strong enough, I can actually see it, physically there. Most of the time they will give me an image in my mind. Sometimes it's like just a knowing of something, like it's my own memory, or it's like I know 2 and 2 equals 4. It's just a knowing of something, but they will give images, like Tori said, the Superman image. I have had images. I have seen a very few standing, and they're usually with the person, and they'll be, usually what they do if they're like that is they'll be standing like they would, like either behind someone with their arms stretched across them, and I'll say that they got their arms stretched across you like they're hugging you, or they'll have a hand on a shoulder, and they'll say, yeah, that's what they used to do. They'll stand in a particular way that they used to do when they were living. But that's very rare that I see something like that. Now, if we're out on an investigation and we are reading a building, I see a lot of that. A lot of physical. I see it with my eyes physically in a location. And reading buildings are a lot easier than reading people. It takes
Really?
So yes, it takes so much to read a person, so much energy, because you've got the living person there, you've got the person that's passed, and you're the conduit between, and you're trying to get the message figured out in a location. You just go in and you read what you got, and then the historians, they try to, they say, oh, that this is this way, or this was that way, or this is true, or I don't know what this is. We haven't validated that. We haven't heard this before. But I don't know about Tori, but it's so much easier for me to read a property than to read a person.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
Yeah, and we kept getting messages for the other person that was with us, Lisa. There was a certain person that kept trying to reach out, and it was a consistent all night, like the first part of the seance into the writing portion, into the medium part that we done later on. It was consistent. This one person kept trying to get things across, and since then, some things were said or mentioned in visions, that was a little bit confusing. But then later, after a few phone calls, the other person's like, how would they even know that? This is, and it was things that we didn't even know about, but that was told. So that was very interesting, but it was like a consistent theme throughout the night that this one person kept trying to get a hold of Lisa. And it was crazy. But yeah, they got a message across.
That's awesome.
Which I think is so interesting, because because she's pretty skeptical. And I feel like if she had never come with us that night, she never would have known somebody was trying to reach out and contact her. She probably never would have given that any other thought, you know. So
Right.
I thought that was really
she's
cool.
still skeptical because she's a hard nut to crack, right? And she's always like, well, they ask a lot of questions, this come up and this, so I think she's trying not to like believe, because when you're not trying to, believe in stuff, you're going to convince yourself of things. So whether it is or not, but she's still like, I don't know how that happened, but there's got to be a reason why. So
we do
You
ask
guys emailed us before. Yeah.
we do ask a lot of questions because that's how we validate who these people are.
right.
Is there anyone here because however they died is where I feel the pain. Usually if it's in the head, it's like a stroke or an aneurysm or something, or a blow to the head. And you can feel on which side or where about it is on the head. Or if it's chest pain, it's a heart attack or pneumonia or something to do with the chest. And we have to ask because we don't know. It's like puzzle pieces is what I tell people. We get pieces of a puzzle and we have to say, well, I got this. Does this mean anything? And then, like you said earlier, I think, Rhonda, we work together and we work better as a unit because Tori gets pieces of something, I get something different, Matt gets something different. And then when we put it all together, it makes a clearer picture. This puzzle becomes more complete. And then what we present to the person is more complete and easier for them to say, oh, yeah, this is mine. And that's what this means. And, oh, my gosh, I can't believe you know this. So it's really, we do have to ask questions to propel
that's understandable. Yeah, and like I said, she's just like, I called his sister and we was talking, and she's like, because it was a certain like shirt and outfit that they mentioned. She goes, no, I don't remember that. But then after the fact, she called sister. She goes, yeah, back years ago, that's how he used to dress. And she goes, how did they know that? And she's like, I don't know. She's talking about, I was like, so, a little less skeptical now. She goes, no, they had to figure it out somehow. But I can tell you, there's another one. We'll be there, and she'll be like,
We'll convince her one day.
Yeah. Is it during a seance? Is it your energies that these spirits are attracted to, or is it the person that they want to give the message to, or both? Like, what attracts them to?
I think it's a little bit of both. We're open and can hear and get the messages. We can see and hear and feel. So we are able to get the messages. And it's like them finding a telephone that works. Oh, I can call this person. The person's there. They're connected to that person. But we're there and open and ready and able to give a message. So it kind of works both ways.
Yeah. That makes me wonder, like, when I pass on and I want to talk to somebody, like, how long do I have to wait,
Yeah.
for that perfect storm, that perfect circumstance where, that person is with someone that's open. That was really interesting to me. I really came away from the seance with less questions, but more questions at the same time. That's why we're glad y'all are here. We can ask you the questions.
That's it.
But Lindsay, Ron, did you have anything else to say about that portion of the evening?
No, I thought it was interesting. A lot of interesting things. There's a lot more to it, and I'll say this now, and I know we'll say it. If you guys ever get an opportunity, if you're listening, if you're watching, to come to one of their events, or to stay an overnight, or to do anything with these guys, y'all need to go check them out. They're straight up, they're real, they're real people just like us, but they're legit. I can say that. I can put that. I'd hang my hat on that. So you guys go check it out. You'll have a good time. You'll learn a lot. It's educational too, and open your eye. Maybe you'll learn something.
How about you?
I thought it was interesting, like at the very beginning when you had us all like kind of find something to ground us and have our protective shield around us, which stuff like that is usually so hard for me to do because I feel like my brain just never stops going. Like, it's so hard for me to just clear my brain out, but I was like, okay, you got to do it. Like everybody else is doing, you got to hurry up and do it this time for real. And so then after that, like when I finally felt like I could do it, everything was really calm. And then that's when I felt that presence. And then you said that. And then I think you said it was like a man in his like 40s or 50s, something about fishing poles and some kind of truck. And maybe his name was Johnny. And I was like, well, I don't know anybody that fits that description, but I know she said they like to be acknowledged. So I was just like, hey John, glad you're here. Like, good to have you. I was like, I don't know what else to say, but how you doing? It was cracking me up. And then we did the automatic writing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, which I don't know if I did that quite right, because instead of like words and just letting my hand go, I kept just seeing like pictures in my brain, so I was just drawing it out on the paper. I didn't get any words though. I was like, I opened my eyes and I was like, I don't think I did this right.
But you got some awesome images.
Well, you were getting something somehow.
Yeah.
You weren't doing the automatic writing like you're supposed to, but you were getting messages a different way. You were open and just receiving in your mind's eye. So it doesn't matter. I mean, it wasn't exactly what we're doing, but you still were open and got something very unique and very interesting. So, yeah.
And then we tried to do the Ouija board. Mom and Ryan tried. And it moved a little bit. And then we switched, and me and Ryan tried. And I swear that thing wasn't going. I was like, nobody wants to talk to us right now. But I also felt like I couldn't really concentrate on it either. Did you feel like that, Ryan?
Yeah, that's always been something I never really wanted to do. I've had some people that had experiences with it. And of course, you see the movies and you do research and you hear all the stuff. So I was like, okay, we're here. You know, these people know what they're doing. So if anything crazy happens,
we're responsible.
I've got a lot of fun, right? So it sits there. But the interesting part, and it was kind of funny because, I did touch the planchette and, I'm sitting there and I'm barely, because I know you're just supposed to tap it with your finger. So I'm not like putting any pressure at all on. And then it did move a little bit. So I'm sitting there thinking, Rhonda's moving that. And I'm like, Rhonda, she goes, no, are you moving it? And then Lindsay goes, Mom, his fingers are not even on the planchette.
I thought I had my eyes closed and I thought he was moving it toward me. And but it wasn't him and it wasn't me. And so I think if we had like maybe a different atmosphere, a quiet, because I was already pumped up from, the rest of the seance. And I felt like my mind was just all over the place. But maybe if we concentrated and focused and it was quiet.
Right, clear your mind. And like I said, we asked questions, but it kept going over to the wings because I had 2 wings at the top between where it said yes or no. And it kept going over to like in between the wings, like where where her body'd be, because you had the wings there, like the bat wings. And everything we'd say, you just kind of moved there and it would stop. So I don't know if that signified or if that was even an answer or whatever, but I was sitting there, but then part of me was like, not really wanting to open up and be susceptible to that. So that might have been something good. Like if it's really trying to talk to me out, I don't know how much control I'm giving to this thing. So that may have had something to do with it. But yeah, it was funny because like I said, I really wasn't putting a whole lot of finger pressure on that. And then she's like, he's not even, his hand ain't even on it.
I was like, I don't think you're touching it.
Yeah, it was different. But like Ryan said, I think we've kind of heard all our lives that, Ouija boards are bad and you shouldn't have anything to do with them and you're opening yourself up to something demonic and all that. And I think even in the moment, you're not thinking about that, but subconsciously, I think it's there and that apprehension is there. So that was interesting. At least we tried. And, I don't think anything evil followed me home.
We do give a lot at an event like this for you guys to just experience, to see what you might want to look into a little further, or if you just don't, if you're like, I don't like none of this, at least you know whether or not you like it, and then maybe an interest that, like you might like the rods or the pendulum or something, and you might be drawn to that. And this is a way for you just to have a little hands-on experience. But
Yes.
yeah, it's definitely a lot going on, and a lot of energy. So I would see how it would be really hard to try to connect with, being all pumped up, and then there was just a lot of noise too around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we had already gone through the house and been taking pictures of every little nook and cranny, and we were just already all pumped up. So we're just raring to go.
And one thing, and this is how I knew that, I didn't accidentally touch the planchette, or if you was dragging it, you had to put some force, because whenever we lifted our hands up and was kind of done, and of course I always drug it back over to goodbye, because I know that that's what you're supposed to do. So I put my finger on it, and I was like, how much pressure is it just to move it? Because, it was a wood planchette. It was kind of large. And I was like, you got to apply some pressure to move that thing. It's not something you can just slide. And I'm sitting there thinking, something was moving that. So that was interesting.
Yeah, it was. And then I guess after that, our group went upstairs. I can't remember what we did first when we got up there. Was it the EVP?
I think the first thing we did was Matt and one of the other team members. They sat
girl
before
that was with
and
us,
they tried to bring through messages.
Because y'all were like telling us that everyone has gifts. Everyone could do, what you do as a medium. People just don't develop that. And so he had one of the ladies that had come to the public event kind of act as a medium, and Lisa, that we were speaking about earlier, she was getting messages for, that were coming through for Lisa specifically. And that was really interesting. When they both were sitting there and the room was quiet, and the one that was acting as the medium kind of was open. She was very open, where Lisa wasn't too open there but, at first. But that was an interesting exercise. Do y'all do that with most groups that come to the house? You like take someone from the group and say, okay, you act as the medium, and this person is going to be the one that the messages are for. Do y'all do that?
That's funny that you asked that question, because that's the first time Matt, I think, ever even tried that.
Oh,
so it was a really good, so you were guinea pigs to that experiment. No, I think it really shows you that you do have abilities if you're willing to be open and even attempt it, kind of like the Ouija board. If you're open to attempting to at least try, who knows what your mind, and I'm horrible for this, and Rhonda can tell you, my mind gets in the way of everything, right? Myself, as what I think is real and normal, gets in the way of when I try to, get messages and stuff like that. I'm like, no, this can't be, this isn't happening. So once I let myself go, once you let that guard down, you start to see those abilities come through. You start to feel things, and you're like, you really know, okay, maybe there is something to this that I never really thought of before, because no one's ever really told you that it's okay to do it. It's okay to be open and, and feel things and see things. It's always been told to no, that's not what we do. Kind of like with the Ouija board, we were told that's not okay. So I think it's a really great experiment for people to see that maybe I do have something. Maybe if that's something I'm truly interested in, I can start following that path and that journey and seeing where it takes me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We did do some experimenting with the what is it called? Spirit box.
The Spirit box and Estes, yeah.
Yes, and that was really interesting, because the very last session that we were in the red room where Lindsay and I had to sleep that night, and we'd been told, there's a lot of it, there's been a lot of activity in this room, and this and that. And so Matt had the spirit box, and we're just kind of, he's asking questions and we're listening. And at first, it was kind of, he asked a question and we waited, and then you'd get something every now and then. But then by the end of it, it was almost like a conversation. Like he would ask, and they even, I have to say this, I made cookies and brought them. And he was asking if the spirits in the room wanted cookies. And at the end, we heard the word cookie as plain as day. But I mean, he was asking questions like, what color is her shirt? And it said gray, and that just happened to be the color of Lisa's shirt. So somebody was trying to get Lisa's attention, hey, we are out here.
Who said me?
No. Just say no one.
What?
Just say no one.
Oh, no, I wasn't sure. Maybe.
I was like, okay.
That kind of does sound like him. Is this Dr. Snead? If this is, Doc, how many fingers am I holding up? Give me a number. Come on. How many do you see? You can see me. How many fingers do I have up? I'm not making do parlor tricks. That's why I know you can see us. Evil. Who said evil? Am I evil because I'm doing this to you? I just want you to tell me how many fingers. Did you hear?
I heard four.
I heard four too. What color am I pointing to right now? What color is her shirt? Can you tell me what color that is?
Gray? Are you for real?
Yep.
What?
Who's with us right now? Who are you? What's your name? Can you tell us how many of us are in the room? You can see us. How many of us are in here? Give me a number. How many do you see? Speak clearly for me. Just tell me a number of how many people are here.
I heard that too. I thought I heard that.
What'd you hear?
Nine.
Nine?
But there's only
That's what I heard.
There's only
Nine.
8,
Well,
yeah.
he got himself.
Yeah.
Shut up.
You got it. Did you hear that? You got it. That's good. You gonna wake Rhonda up?
She ain't going to sleep.
So what are you doing?
She won't be asleep.
So just leave a cookie out by itself.
Yeah.
And
We'll
just
leave the
leave it
carton
out.
open.
I will.
Oh, really?
I like that dude.
But it was amazing to me how it was almost like a conversation. And we were getting those answers. But what really resonated with me the most after the fact, I didn't try it during the public event, but Lindsay and Ryan did the dowsing rods. And now I had never even, I'd heard of using dowsing rods to find water, but I'd never even held a dowsing rod. And in the room where Ryan and Lisa were going to stay the night we did a session with the dowsing rods. And so it was Ryan and Lindsay and another lady doing those, and Matt was kind of guiding. Now, I will tell you, I was skeptical about that. When it first started, I was like, what? How is this going to work? And by the end of the night, I was not skeptical anymore, and really found out that that's what resonated with me the most, because I ended up trying them. And if we were in the red room, and this was after the event was over, and Ryan talked me into trying them because they had left them in the red room. And so he's like, here, try this. I was like, okay, yeah. And so
Peer pressure. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Just try it.
So Lisa is trying, she's watching, she's just watching all this. So Lindsay had left to go home, feed her dog. So it was just me and Ryan and Lisa in the red room. And he had been, doing a little with the dowsing rods a few minutes before that. And I'll let you talk about that, Ryan. But when I took them and he showed me how to hold them and everything, and you're just barely holding them, really. And he was asking the questions first. And so they were moving a little, but not. But then he said, "You ask questions." And so I started asking questions. And the first time that those rods moved and I felt the energy moving those rods, I was like, I was just so surprised. And then it was like it was moving fast, like, and um, we were talking to Dr. Snead, and he was being really nice and just answering all those questions. And I was just like blown away. And I think it really kind of blew Lisa away too. And Ryan he at one point had his phone and was video like FaceTiming or something with your son, right? While this is going on, and showing him, he's like, "Hey man, we're talking to a spirit." And his son was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, watch this." And so he's watching me, and I guess I did it for probably 15 minutes. And by the end of it, it was like a conversation again. It was like I'm standing there, ask a question, it moves, and then it would straighten back out. And then I would ask another question, and it was just like, I could not believe it. Because I thought, when they were doing it in the event session, we were in the other room and Lindsay and Ryan were doing, I'm like, that's got to be like their subconscious, something in there, they're moving those, and then when I held them and experienced that energy, I was like, oh, I mean, the first time it happened, like Ryan can tell you, my whole demeanor changed. I was like, yeah. But I want Ron to talk about his experience with the dowsing rods too.
Well, the first in the amethyst room when we first started doing it, Matt was talking to the other lady and was having a conversation, and then sometimes I can pick up on energies, or I can sense stuff, and I started sensing something, and I can feel the dowsing rods, because I believe in this stuff, wholeheartedly. I've never used dowsing rods. So, and I also know, it's all about trying to hold them straight, and if you angle them wrong, they're going to move a little bit. So I'm like trying to hold mine as solid as I can. And then I keep feeling like you're fishing, like the tip of the pole, how it keeps like, it's just doing that and it's pulling. And I'm like, and then it starts moving a little bit. And then I keep hearing like, tell him to shut up, like I'm trying to talk, I'm trying to get his attention. He's talking to the other lady, and I'm like, I said, excuse me. I said, because he's a medium, and I'm sure he's sensing something because, he's like really good at this stuff. And I'm just like, whatever. I'm like, are you sensing that? He goes, yeah. He goes, I'll get to him in a minute. I was like, well, he's kind of saying, shut up, that you need to talk to him. He's like, yeah, he's standing over with like his hands open, like, hey, dude, I'm here. He goes, he's kind of a jerk. I'm like, okay, at least it's not me, and it's, yeah, I sense it. And then he's like, if you feel that tapping on the front, a little bit, he goes, a lot of times those are negative type spirits and you kind of need to break the connection and wipe them off because you don't want that type of energy. Because after I talked to that guy, something stronger come wrong. He goes, yeah, he goes, I sense that. He goes, but I'm not letting that inside my energy field. He said, I'm kind of keeping him on the outside. He goes, you don't want to talk to that person or that entity or whatever it was. And then when we got back over to the, and then at one point, Lindsay was standing beside me, and here I am, I'm feeling this energy, and I keep sensing this, whatever it was. And then all of a sudden, there was like so much energy hit me, and my body froze, and I just kind of was shaking, almost like I was like having a seizure. And I was sitting there, and then I seen her looking at me, but I really couldn't move. Mm-hmm. And then after a while, it subsided, and he's like, yeah, you need to get rid of that, whatever that was, trying to come through. And then, and Lindsay took me out. She goes, yeah, I was looking at you and I seen that. She goes, I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I was a little worried at first because it did. When you were sitting there and the way you were shaking, it did kind of look like you were seizing up a little bit. So I was like, okay, if this doesn't stop in like 10 seconds, I'm gonna like call attention to this. But then you were fine. So I was like, okay, well, if he wants to make it, if he wants to tell whatever that was, then he will. It's not my thing to say, but I was like, something's going on over there. I don't know what it is.
whatever it was, and it was trying to talk, and it was trying to come through. And, I think part of it was, it trying to force itself to speak or force energy. And I was like, no, it's not happening. So that was probably like, just I guess a bad energy clash or something. I'm not sure. And then when when we first got back to the rooms, because Matt said, yeah, y'all go try these. So I was up there, and then when I picked him up, I started talking. And then I started feeling that again. And then I was like, I asked certain questions, because I've had experiences with certain spirits back in the past, and it kind of felt the same energy. And I felt it get real strong. And, I asked questions, and it was the questions I really didn't want. I mean, the answers that I was hoping that I wouldn't get. So then I was like, nope, I'm done. And I kind of just like quit, and I wiped them off and put them back down. And then we waited a minute, and I was like, Rhonda, why don't you try to talk to something else? Because I was trying to change the energy in the room.
I got a whole different energy than Ron was getting. And I was glad that in the earlier experience, we had a pro with us. Matt recognized, hey, this might be something that you don't want to let through. And he kind of stepped in and kind of helped, shield Ryan and shield us from that. But and then Ryan recognized, okay, I'm, when we were on our own with the dowsing rods, I'm not going there. And then he's like, yeah, here, why don't you try it? After I'd seen all this, And I was like, okay, well, so I went into it a little bit more lighthearted, I think. And so I got a whole different kind of positive energy than he was feeling. And that was really, I was surprised. I was really surprised. It's kind of fun after a while, you're just kind of talking. I was thinking of these questions I wanted to ask, Dr. Snead. And I was like, was this, your office when you lived here? And, yes. And we just were like having a conversation. And so Lindsay missed that whole thing, but Ryan had a bunch of it on video, and she got to see that. So she watched that when she got back. And then we just kind of, Ryan, I want you to tell about your experience when you walked downstairs by yourself, like late that night.
Okay. It was later, and we was waiting on Lindsay to come back, and I didn't realize that at the time her phone had died. And so I kind of walked downstairs, and my phone was about dead. So I wasn't thinking, and it's like way late at night. Pretty much all the lights are off except for they almost look like the emergency lights. They're just very faint and glowing to make it look even more spooky. So I plugged my phone up, and I'm just walking downstairs, because I've been around. I'm like, okay, if something's here, I might hear a noise, or it might be cool to see something. So it was kind of crazy. I walked down there, and I see lights flash, and then it was actually being Lindsay. And by the time I got to the door, she was pulling out because she came to the door, and we had accidentally locked it. So I'm sitting there for a minute, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and walk through the house. So I turn around, and I'm going through the hallway to where I'm almost at the bottom of the stairs where the young boy had passed away. And my left shoulder is basically at the doorway where we've done the seance. So right there's a really spooky area because there's basically no light, just very, very small illumination. And something tells me I kind of turn, I get a sense just to kind of look in there. And I look in there, and as I'm turning my head back around to almost straight, right here is like a really, really loud hiss, almost like shh. And have you ever had like an air compressor or like a real, real strong blast of air hit you just out of nowhere? At the same time it did, it like hit the side of my face and went all the way down my back. And it was like right here. And I looked around, and the first thing, I'm debunking this. They've got one of them Febreze air filter things on the wall that's going to spray out at me, or, a sensor or something. And I'm looking all over the place, and I can't find anything. And even right now, I still feel my ear still kind of feels funny. I guess some of the air or something went in. And I look around for like 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm like, there's nothing here. And then I'm thinking, okay, this is not smart. It's middle of the night. You don't have a phone. Everybody's upstairs.
In other words, he hightailed it back upstairs.
and then I kind of get a real, like something sets in on me. It's like, I get this feeling like you don't need to be here right now. And I'm like, okay. So then I kind of come back upstairs into the room, and they probably seen the look on my face because I was
Yeah.
probably a little bit out of
I was like,
sorts
what
because
happened?
I couldn't figure out what just
Mm.
happened, you know. And they're like, what happened? I try to explain to them, and they're like, you know, but that was very interesting.
I
But
thought you were kind of pulling her leg at first, but then after talking with you, and I mean, he was a little shook. And I was like, oh man. So when we went downstairs the next time, we all went together. Because that house takes on a whole different
Mhm.
vibe after dark. Like we'd been there since like what 4 p.m. and we'd been walking around and just enjoying the house inside out, you know, on the grounds and then inside the house. But when it was dark, it took a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit of a turn, you know. It's a nice home. You've done a great job renovating it. And to remind our listeners how old it is, the original 2 rooms that the house was built around were built before the Civil War. So the cellar's original. There's floors that are original in the home. Fireplace. You know, it's just amazing the history there. Um, but when we were doing one thing that was interesting when we were doing the EVP session, or when I had the headphones on, Tori, what do y'all
Oh,
call it?
Estes.
Yes. And I'm supposed to be listening for words that come through randomly as it scans these frequencies. And I can't hear what anybody else in the room was saying. I heard the word bullet at least 4 times, 4 different
Oh wow.
times. And Matt was saying, because it didn't make any sense to me, but after like some of the things that I was hearing, and I was repeating the phrases out loud if I heard them or the words, when when that session was over, I was like, why did I keep hearing the word bullet? And he said that, and Rhonda, you may be able to talk to this, but that there was a Civil War soldier that maybe Dr. Snead cared for who had passed, and something about maybe he was shot, or I don't know what it was. But anyway, he said that they'd had maybe 2 or 3 other times where, you know, something with guns or bullets came through, and that they, you know, thought that referred to one of the soldiers. And so that was really interesting, because that was like every time that word came through, it was clear as a bell. Bullet, bullet, bullet. And it would come through, and then there'd be other things that would come through, and then that same voice would come back with that. So I don't know. There may be something, with the history of the house and one of the soldiers that he treated.
And I
But
think it was something that he had actually said, because when you was doing that and you said bullet, he was asking questions, and he said, "What about the bullet?" Or where it said something like head, and then he did
head,
ask a
yeah.
question. He's like, "Yeah, he had talked to that guy before."
Uh-huh.
So it kind of go correspond with what you were saying. It was that same person that he had talked to.
Wow.
He didn't know that that's what happened.
And I
So
couldn't hear any of that. So to me, it was like maybe nonsense. It didn't make any sense to me, but it was making sense to the rest of y'all. But that was
Yeah.
a neat experience.
The only thing, I don't know any particular soldier history wise, but the 2-room log cabin that the house is built around was built in the mid 1700s, and it was part of a Revolutionary War fort. And then, of course, the house was built around that log cabin in 1835, and then the house was used as a field hospital during the Civil War. So there were a lot of soldiers that came through there. So maybe one soldier, it may be 10 or 15, it may be 100 soldiers talking about bullets. There's no way to tell, really. Historically, there's no.
Mm-hmm. I think it's neat that you guys have, you have so many specialities on your team. You have historians, and you have mediums, and you have, tell us, what other kinds of specialties you have on your team.
Well, I do occult studies and witchcraft and demonology and angels. Just because I was raised in a very religious family.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of resonates with me, even though I decided early on as a child, or about 15, this is not my path. I'm not, not. I had so many ministers in my family. I'm like, sorry, this is just not my path. My path is somewhere else. But I kind of knew a lot about this, and then I took a demonology course with Bishop Long a couple of years back, and it was very interesting because it touched on not just Christian demons, but it touched on negative entities and Hinduism and Buddhism and Judaism. It was it's and how they're all similar, but they're called something different. So it was really interesting because it wasn't very narrow. It was very broad. I got to experience a lot of different cultures and religions and their beliefs. So that was very interesting to me. But anyway, and then of course mediumship. But then we have, of course, you said the historians, and we have someone who is into cryptozoology, so she's into the cryptids and stuff. Actually, I think Michaela's into the UFOs and things, and Tori, what else? I can't think of all of them. I mean, there's just
Yeah, there's quite a bit. I mean, and not only on the paranormal side are we in different like realms, but all of us come from such different backgrounds. Like I have a degree in biology, so does Nikita, and then, my sister has a degree in psychology. So, for her, it's really awesome to get her when we have go to, asylums and stuff, and we cross those paths with people who have had mental disorders that maybe it's not, a bunch of different spirits. It's one person that maybe had split personality, or, we can kind of hone that back in, and then we can verify that with the historians and the people from those sites and be like, yeah, that's actually, they didn't call it certain things, back then, but yeah, that's what they said that, that they were like. So that's really cool. We get to take all of our degrees that we have in whatever aspect that they are and use them in this world too, and you kind of mix the two together with the cryptids and, angels and demons and everything else. And you get a really eccentric group that has been such an awesome family to be a part of the last 4 years too.
It kind of runs the whole gamut.
Yeah.
UFOs to,
we have a little bit of everything.
You really do. So how often, Rhonda, do y'all have the public events? Is it like, do you try to have 2 a year, or?
Well, I have several events at the house that we have. I think, is this the second one we've done up there, Tori, with SRS?
Yeah, it's the second one this year. Yeah.
This year with SRS. But I do a lot of things, just myself or with other people up there. But then we do a lot of publics at other historic locations in the Tri-Cities area. Tori, I'll let you touch on that because I only get to a couple of those a year.
Yeah. So we do believe at least 4 locations, and we try to shoot for about 4 times a year. We'll do 2 in the spring-ish, and then 2 hopefully in the fall near the like Halloween and when it gets a little cooler, because most of those places don't have air conditioning. So we, we'll do those, and it's a 4 to 5 hour event for us. Guests can come in, buy a ticket. They get to spend that time not only at the historic site, seeing those places that they may not go to in the daytime anymore, or they may be from out of town and come to visit, but that they can see those as well as get a, a paranormal aspect too. And then the part of the funds that we do raise go back into that facility to help kind of, fund their property for fixing everything back up. So we try our best to do at least 4 a year at each place if we can get it. It all depends on, with 12 people on a team, you have a lot of different schedules. And so you do the best you can with that. But it seems to have done really well for us. People love coming. We get a lot of regulars, and then we get a lot of new ones. But it's been great. I enjoy that part a lot.
Yeah. And I know it must be taxing sometimes because most of you have, normal jobs.
Yeah.
And you're doing this like on top of that. But I think it's cool how, you get to go to those places and you're kind of giving back to help them, to help these locations. What's your favorite location that you've been to, Tori?
Oh, are we talking public wise? Or are we talking just like paranormal period?
Paranormal period.
Oh, that's tough. Probably thus far what I have been to, I would say the Old South Pittsburgh Hospital right outside of Chattanooga has probably been one of my favorites. It's been the place that I had my very first empathic and I would like to say start of mediumship ability kind of experience. Rattled my cage a little bit because I didn't know what to expect. I was pretty fresh into this world. And so it has a special place in my heart. And I love going back there. And the people there that own that facility are fantastic. They're great. We're headed to Brushing Mountain in the fall in October. And I'm super excited to go there because I've always, heard all the stories.
Right.
And some of the team's already been. So I'm super excited to go there too. So it's hard to pick one because they all have their own history, their own story, and their own hauntings. So it's really hard to pick one.
Yeah, unique. Yeah, each place.
Yes.
What
Very
about you,
much.
Rhonda?
Sure, I don't know.
Right. It's so
Yeah,
difficult.
it's hard. And I've been to a lot of places, haunted places that I haven't been to with the team, just to visit. I think my favorite place like that has been the Winchester House in San Jose.
Oh,
But
I
I guess my favorite with the team probably, and it wasn't the entire team, it was early on. It was right before I joined the team. So it was myself, my daughter Nikita, Matt, Al, and Kevin, and we went to Wildwood Sanatorium in New York, and then the Hinsdale House. So not the Hinsdale House. So I don't think I'll ever go back there.
Oh.
No, that one was Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. But I think Wildwood Sanatorium would probably be my favorite investigation.
And why would that be?
We stayed in the house, and I don't know, the house just had, even though a lot of creepy, unexplained stuff happened, and the house was a little bit, I don't know, it was a lot creepy. Uneasy when you're trying to sleep. But I don't know, there's just something about that house and the grounds. It was just different. And I just really felt welcomed. And I don't know, it had a pull for me to that place.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. And so you all are just, just starting really your journey together. Like you said, Tori, you've been since 2020, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So a lot of years ahead that you all can go visit locations and do your thing and help educate people like us. Even though we've had this paranormal podcast since last October, there were a lot of firsts for us at the public event. And I would highly recommend that anybody who's interested, start and get their feet wet at one of these public events, because it's a good way, like you said, to try a lot of different things and to kind of feel the energy of a location like that. And it is wild because Lindsay and I, have been to some places that are, haunted, and the energy is different. The vibe is different at each location. And this house was really interesting because you said welcoming, Rhonda, just a minute ago. This house was welcoming. I felt like that it was welcoming, and that was kind of the vibe that we got from the first moment that we got there. And we did a little side trip where we went in the middle of the night to the graveyard where Dr. Snead and his wife are buried, and just traipsing around trying to find that tombstone. And we finally found it, thankfully. But that was an experience too. We had a little session out there. We didn't really get anything, but it was neat. That was a first for our team, just to go somewhere like that together and do these things and with professionals who know what they're doing. I will say that we are not pros. We've just always had an interest in the paranormal. And so last time we had you all on, Rhonda, I ordered the book, and I want to promote that here. It's on Amazon, and the reason we didn't buy the one in the room is because I already had this one. But it's called The History of the Hauntings of the Nickerson Snead House by Rhonda Caudale, and you can get it on Amazon. So get it. It's a good read. It's an easy read. You can read it, in no time. And there's a lot of neat historical information in here. I was telling Lindsay when I first started reading it, I was like, oh, because she graduated from Emory and Henry College, and that was mentioned in here because Dr. Snead was kind of a doctor there too, and so it takes you from when the house was first built right on up through, and so all the rooms now are open for guests, I guess you could say, all the bedrooms, and they're all unique and they're all so cool. I loved the amethyst room. The vibe in there was just so, I don't know what the word is for it. Eccentric, maybe. I don't know. I like it. But I like how too the team, you guys took us through and told us about each room and some of the history of the room, but also some of the paranormal history of the room and what you all had experienced. And I think my favorite thing that you told, Rhonda, was about your experiences since moving in was like that first, one of the first nights that you were there and y'all were all sleeping in what used to be the gentleman's parlor, and you woke up and saw a lady and you assumed it was your friend that was there, but it wasn't. The next morning you found out that it wasn't. And then we were talking about hearing people who weren't even in the house and shouldn't have been within earshot, like call your name or something, how there's, spirits can mimic the voices of people we know. And we had done a little episode about mimics, and that is one thing that freaks me out so much. And so that stuck in my head when you were telling about that, because it's happened more than once in the home. And so that was two of my favorite stories. And then, of course, the dowsing rods and the seance. And I want Ryan and Lindsay to tell what they enjoyed the most as well, because I know it's good for you guys to get feedback, too.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
And it's good for our listeners to hear. So somebody might, relate to something that we liked. So, Linz, go ahead.
My favorite part was definitely the seance, because I'd always wanted to do one, and I just never knew anybody that did them or would want to go to one with me. And so I loved that part. I thought that was so much fun. And we had talked about doing table tipping, I think, and we never got to it. So we'll have to do that next time we come, because I think that would be so cool.
Or mirror scrying.
Mirror scrying too would be so cool. And I don't know, like, being in the house, I loved it. The second we walked in, I was like, there's all these skulls and like scary things, but that's my house aesthetic. So I was like, oh, it's so cozy in here. I just love it. And Mom and I stayed in the red room. And before the house tour started, we went and put our stuff up there, and we were just kind of sitting and chatting and talking. I was like, it's so nice in here. I was like, I just feel so cozy. Well, then we went on the house tour. Matt was like telling all these stories about how it runs people out. He was like, yeah, I would not want to be in here very long. And I was like, oh. Okay.
Me and Lindsay are looking at each other like,
Yeah.
And I'm quite surprised that she said that.
Everybody in the group was looking at us like, y'all are going to stay in here tonight? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I think it's fine.
It's going to be great.
And then I think when the cookie thing happened, so here, what I remember happening is that we were doing the spirit box, and it kept coming across whatever spirit was in there was wanting us to leave. It was like, get out, you can leave anytime. And I think Ryan was jokingly like, well, we have cookies. Like, wait a minute, if you want a cookie, we have them. And then the spirit box said, cookie. And I was like, okay, we're going to leave one at least in this box overnight, because I'm not taking any chances. I just thought that was hilarious. That was so funny, because it was relevant to what we were talking about, but it was also really funny. And I think I didn't sleep that night, but it wasn't because I was scared necessarily. I think I just was like scared to miss something. I was like, if something happens in this room, like, I want to see it, because I wanted to see a ghost so bad. I was like, I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm just going to look around the room all night. And I just never went to sleep. But yeah, I loved it.
How about you, Ron?
Yeah, I enjoyed all of it. I like like I said, even though it's like I like feeling up the different energies. I like picking up the different vibes. I like learning different things through the mediums. The team was great. They showed us around. They was real knowledgeable. Uh, I know, we kind of quit investigating something. It was almost like 4 a.m. And I do know that, I did try to sleep, but something did I kept feeling something shake me awake like all night. So I really didn't get much sleep. But the energy that was there, and doing the dowsing rods and some of the things, it's just like I was drained for almost a day and a half after we left.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
I really loved the entire thing. But one thing that I'm curious, because we talked about our experiences and stuff, I want to know what you guys got from that event, because you guys have probably picked up on some different things, different vibe. You had your own individual experiences. And also, I don't know if I need, what did you guys pick up from the team? Because it's our first time getting together with you guys, and hopefully we can do it again sometime. But, what you guys got from us, and so I'm kind of curious about what y'all's experience was. Because, we talked for a while, and I know y'all have your own experiences, and that's what I'm wanting to figure out. I already know what I did. I want to figure out what y'all got.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rhonda.
The only thing, I didn't get anything, other than the seance. I got, the messages there. By the time the seances were finished, I was so wiped out that a ghost could have walked up and slapped me in the face and I would have never known it. I was wiped out. So, but we do get a lot. I went Monday back up to clean the house because we had I had guests on Monday night, so I had to go up and didn't have enough clean sheets, so I had to go up in the bedroom that they had booked and put the sheets on the bed because we had just put the comforter back across the bed. So I had to go make that bed, and the entire time I was there, somebody was walking around the house. I mean, up the steps, down the steps, outside the bedroom door. So I guess it was just really excited, and there was residual energy left over from us that it could pull from. And but that happened on Monday after everything this weekend, and I was there alone. It always happens when I'm alone.
That's
Vulnerability.
Yeah.
So what about you,
Well,
Tori?
I have to say with you all, I mean, it was so nice of an experience for you guys to be really open. One, to trying everything. Two, to just being like, okay, I want to see what they're about, right? Us as a team, we can talk ourselves up and whatever, but when people can experience who we truly are all together and then reverberate that back to us, that we show that to everybody, it's really nice to hear. That's who we are all the time. You saw us picking at each other and just doing what we do best, and that's just who we are all the time. And it was so nice. You guys, like I said, I loved having you all, and like Brian said, having you guys again and us being able to collaborate someplace else would be awesome.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Rhonda said, after you do two seances, trying to pull messages. Sorry, my father's trying to call me. 2 messages coming through 2 seances, it really wears you out. By the time you guys are still raring to go at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, we saw you guys in the hall, and I'm like, I'm out. Like, we went down there, laid down to bed, and I told Matt and Michaela both, I was like, so help me, if anything tries to talk to me tonight, I'm going to lose my mind. And Matt's like, oh, I had my shield up all the way to the gold room. Like, don't even come in here. I don't want to do this, because that was, like Rhonda said, that was the second day for us doing publics, and those wear you out because you have the living energy to handle, the spirit energy to try to handle too, and then your own mixed in all of that. And so we call them paranormal hangovers. By the time, especially if we go to big places, you'll be exhausted the next day, and you're like, I didn't even do anything, but your body is like, yeah, you did a lot more than you think, mentally and physically. But it's nice to bring those messages over, like for you, Rhonda. Rhonda brought those from your grandmother and stuff, and those, I think, make my whole night. We could not talk to anybody else in that place. Dr. Snead could have not even shown up, and I'd have been perfectly content having messages for everybody else. That, I think, is truly been our team's mission from day one as a whole, is to be that closer for both sides, for the living and the dead, to make those connections when there is no peace for them, that we can give that to you. whatever it may be, whether it's, I didn't get to say I'm sorry, I didn't get to tell you I loved you one last time, that we can make that connection, and it leaves you with closure that you may never thought you would have gotten before.
Yes.
That is the best part for me, honestly. And I would say probably Rhonda, and even if Matt was here, he would say the same, you know, and
It really is.
yeah, we've talked about with Publix is that way. We're TransUnion Station for people's messages. We don't really get the historical stuff anymore, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine, because you still get to see the paranormal side. It's just not historical people. It's just your people that you bring with you.
Mhm.
And people don't understand that sometimes the people who passed on need closure as well. So it's really rewarding to be able to help them with closure, as well as it is the living get closure. So, and a lot of times the living doesn't even know that there was something unsaid or undone. And we'll say, well, you know, they feel like, you know, they didn't get to say goodbye, or they didn't get to say sorry, or whatever it was. And they're like, oh no, that I didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
And so it's, and they had no idea. So it works both ways.
Yeah.
The closure and the deceased need closure as well. So, and it's very rewarding to be able to.
Oh yeah.
That's a good point, because I don't think I ever thought of it that way. Like, you know, it's two-way communication, and sometimes maybe not for you, but for the one that has passed on. So, wow, it's been rewarding having you all on and getting to know you and getting to spend time with you. And hopefully in the future, yeah, we can team up again. And
Most definitely.
yeah, and we will definitely be back to the Nickerson Snead House. I love that place. It's just
It's great.
something about it. It's good vibes. And so hopefully we get Lisa to go back with us, right? We're going to make a believer out of her yet.
Yes.
But anyway, we want to, we'll keep promoting you guys on socials. And if you have anything that you want to say about your socials now, just throw it on out there, because I know our listeners are really interested in your socials, what you have to say, and what you're doing. So I've promoted the book, so I'll let you guys promote anything else you want to.
Well, kind of what you guys have already touched on too, you know, the Publix that we do, we promote those on our Facebook page, our SRS Paranormal. You'll get to see those with any links to tickets or anything like that. And we usually, I don't know if we're going to we haven't really talked about it. We try to do something around New Year's Eve too, you know, kind of a launch to the new year. We kind of, like I said, still got some time, but we've talked about maybe doing something then too. So yeah, I mean, love to have you follow us and come check us out on the Publix. That's another good experience. You get to see a whole different side of what the Snead is. It's a whole different world than the other places, but yeah.
Yeah,
And you don't have to stay, right? But you can just come for the public and not stay the night, or
Yeah,
you
you
can
can. Or you can stay. Yeah.
And anytime we have an event there, we will put it on the Nickerson Snead House Facebook page. And if it's a joint event, you know, if it's something SRS is doing there, we'll put it on that page too. Any event I have up there, we'll put on there. If you are interested in booking, of course, it's on Airbnb, and you can contact us directly on Facebook if you'd like to book a night. And of course, I've got written books; those are all on Amazon. But I think the best way to get me is Facebook, me or the Nickerson Snead House. I think probably SRS is the best way to get us. Tori, would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we all have access to the page, so we all see your messages, and, you know, messages on there. We seem to answer really quickly because, like I said, all of us have access. So if one of us doesn't see it, somebody else can catch it and get your response.
Yeah. Awesome.
You guys are also recording and doing some other things, right? Because I know the next day you guys was recording and have some production things.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit more about that?
So there's not a. Oh, go ahead.
Kevin, Matt, and I own a production company, and we are working on a project that it's kind of hush hush right now.
Yeah, definitely.
But it is something I think is going to turn into something very rewarding for us as a team. It's taken on a life of its own. It's went in the direction that we did not think it was going to go in, but we are very excited to get that out. And of course, we'll keep everybody posted on that. Tori, do you want to say anything else about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, like she said, there's not a whole lot we can say, and it's already been an experience in itself, and it's growing beyond what we thought we could have imagined it being, as an investigation. So I'm looking forward to what that's going to entail in the future. And we also have Shadow Works Productions. We've done the Field of Fears, based at the Randolph County Asylum in Indiana. So that hopefully will come out at the end of this year. Kind of seeing that place and um, collaborating with some of our other friends in the paranormal world, and that should hopefully be out by the end of the year. I hope. It's really
What's it
good.
coming out on?
I don't know, Rhonda. Do you remember what Matt has said? What it's
I
going to be
don't.
on?
I don't think we have a platform set yet, but that'll all be coming out in the near future.
Yeah.
So
I think he's trying to get it finalized, hopefully around Halloween, but it's by the end of the year, I think. There's just so many projects and so
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
things that we're into, so it's really hard to.
We have our
That's-
hands on a little bit of everything.
Yeah, as
So-
a group and individually, so it's really hard for everybody
Yeah.
to keep track of everything.
I'm
Yeah,
sure.
we're going to be in Michigan when middle of August. We're going to be at the Michigan Paracon there, and then some of them are going to there's one in September, but I can't remember where it is. Connecticut,
It's Gettysburg.
Gettysburg. Okay, that's where I was like, I knew it was one of them places. So yeah, they're going to be there. So we're kind of, like I said, all over the place in the next few months.
So we'll be watching the website, the socials,
Yeah.
and you heard it here first, listeners. Something big is coming. They can't share too much, but watch for it
Yep.
because it's going to be great. We know it's going to be great. Well, we have taken up enough of your time and we will let you go, but we want to all say again how much we enjoyed it. And y'all are very gracious, very genuine, and not at all kind of what we expected a paranormal investigation team to be in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, good.
so
I'm glad. Glad it was a good way.
Good way. Yeah.
And so we will let you guys go and we will stay in touch for sure. And listeners, like I said, just go to their socials and follow along, and maybe you'll get to go to one of the public events and experience some of the spookiness at the Nickerson Snead House. So I would highly recommend it. I know I'm speaking for Ryan and Lindsay as well. Great place, great team, great people, great vibe. What more can you ask for, right?
Well, thank you all so much for that. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
All right. And give our best to the rest of the team too.
Yes, of course.
Bye. We'll let you guys go.
Bye.
Have a great week.
You too.
And we'll
Yep.
keep promoting them too, right? On our socials.
Yes.
We'll share their socials and links and any events that they're doing. So you guys can see our socials there. I'll let Ryan and Lindsay tell you about that, and then we will. Yeah, they're down there. See. Hey, and I want to say this. I have to give a shout out to our TikTok followers because on Saturday, right before we got to the Nickerson Snead House, we had 666 followers on TikTok. Now, was that a coincidental
That's a
number?
good omen. No, that's a good sign.
But now listen how many we have now. And it's been Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. This in 4 days. We have gone from 666 followers to 776 followers. So we've gained 110 followers, y'all. What? That is so cool. I'm just excited about that. So this is our season finale. Like we said, we went out with a bang, and we've got a great season 3 coming up, and we'll be sharing some topics with you just so you know what we're going to be doing. And we've got some exciting things coming up in season 3. For September, we're going to be doing something really special, so be watching our socials for that. We're calling it our September Spooktacular. And then in October, we are going to Scare Fest in Kentucky, in Lexington. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for that. I'm really pumped. We'll be there. We'll be meeting lots of new people and like-minded people. And I get to have my picture made with my favorite vampire. I'm so excited about that. Anyway, you'll just have to keep watching and listening. And please do send us your stories, your scary experiences. I'll let Ryan give a plug for that because he does it so well.
Right. So, all you listeners, viewers, no matter how you're watching our socials, if you have any experience that you would like to share, whether it be us announce you or anonymously, send it to our, sirensofthesupernatural at gmail.com. We'd love to be able to share it with our other readers because you're not alone. Don't be afraid to write it and send it in here. You can have us read it online, or if you'd like to come on as a guest and you actually have some experiences to share, we can do that too.
Mhm.
But yeah, absolutely. Get the word out, tell your family and friends about us. This is our season finale tonight, but we have a lot of things coming up. So, we're going to be bringing a lot more to you in the future. And next season, we're going to, it's going to be popping off pretty good, I think. So, yeah, like I said, and don't forget to watch us on YouTube, on Spotify, Instagram. We're Supernatural Sirens on TikTok. So yeah, we're getting there, and we're going to be doing a lot more smaller things. We're going to be coming at you a little bit quicker with other things as well. So a lot of changes to the future. You guys are really going to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're glad you're along for the ride. And Lindsay, we're going to let you take us out with our catchphrase. Oh, and we're getting t-shirts made. Bam! Lindsay has worked on a design for our awesome t-shirt. So you might see us, if you know us, if you listen and you know us, you might see us sporting our t-shirts out and about. So we're excited about that. Free advertisement, right? We're going to buy them for all our family and friends.
Are we? That's a lot of money.
Well, maybe real close family.
If our family and friends want to support us, that would be
There
great.
you go. There you go. And we know they will. Even Lisa. She'll wear a t-shirt, won't she?
Yeah, she'll wear it.
Yeah, she'll wear it.
All right,
Yep.
Lindsay, take
All
us
right,
out.
guys.
Season 2.
Well, into season 2. And until season 3, stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.